Hey guys, what's up? So, I don't know why. I mean, I do, but I don't. I tried doing this video before, and I don't know what made it where it was like hard to do it. But it definitely wasn't the reason why it is today. I don't know if it's because I healed more, not even from sexual trauma, because this is pretty much what it's about, sexual trauma. Because I found this out about myself while I was doing that healing, because there was certain aspects of my life that needed to be healed that had to do with sexual shit, that I never even looked at, like, ever. Like, I didn't it's not that I didn't look at it as a problem. I think just because I didn't come out with the fact that it even happened to me until like 15 years later, and it wasn't really, not justified and not even validated. But I mean, when I came out with it, it wasn't really a good response, but I didn't really think it was gonna at the same time. And I remember how I went about it when I finally came out about it, but I don't at the same time. Because when you have a lot of trauma, you tend to block everything out, even good stuff. Good stuff. Remember, no duality. You only judge things by how you perceive them as good or bad. It just is. And that might be hard to understand because we all label things and judge our thoughts and judge our feelings and judge our emotions, and it's a lot of have to do with the fact that like we're brought up that we're not allowed to. Sensitive people, their parents will be like, oh, you're over exaggerating, da da da. It's like, but am I? Oh, you're crazy, but am I? Hold on a second. Okay, I think I'm good. Like I said, this video, I don't know, like when I went to do it before, I didn't feel uncomfortable really about it, but like I said, I really didn't heal from it, and I didn't really acknowledge it. I didn't really bring it up into light. I just kind of forgot it even happened and went along my life. So it was just really weird, like getting this all ready, and I have to like keep changing my clothes, and because I like just wasn't comfortable. Like it was weird, and I don't know. I just wasn't. I don't know. Like I had to like figure out if I want my socks on, if I want the heat on, if I want this. It was weird. I don't know. But anyways, I was actually looking up how to heal over betrayal. Yeah, it was about betrayal. And then it turned into, how your family can betray you. And then it turned into, being the scapegoat of your family, which is pretty much like everything is always blamed on you. It's, whatever. And that's pretty much how my childhood was. I was always blamed for what my cousin did. Always. Like, he was favored. He was the first one born as grandchildren. I was the second on both sides, mom and dad. But it's like he was favored because, my grandmother had my uncle, her first kid, at like 17 or something like that. And her and my grandfather were like forced to get married, which they're still together. And, she was 17. They're like, I think grandpa's like 84 now. So, I mean, and they do love each other. It doesn't seem like, they fight. It's legit, like, I don't know, they made it work, I guess. But my aunt had my cousin at like 18. So it was like kind of like the same thing that she went through. So she like felt for her, and is like pretty much her favorite out of all of them. But the thing is that like her husband, were they married? I think they were. Whatever. His dad like was beating them, this and that or whatever. And it's like, so my grandmother like favored him. Now, in my household, I was getting beat up every day. I was living in fear, because of my dad. And my mom was so private that, like, nobody knew, So you can't really, like, blame other people for being like, oh, you're not paying attention to me. But, like, as a kid, you're like, okay, I'm being neglected. I'm not being paid attention to. I'm unsafe. I'm being abandoned by my own family. I'm not loved. I'm not worthy because I keep getting beat. So obviously I'm broken. I'm bad. I'm doing something wrong. I'm not good enough for love. All that stuff. That's our core beliefs as we grow up. So, oh my God. So because she didn't really know what was going on, and I don't know, she probably would have favored him anyways. Who knows? But like his dad left at like 2 years old. Like that was it. I was with my dad. Yeah. Probably like, years and years and years and years more still getting beat. But, nobody knew about it. So I can't really, blame anybody. And I wouldn't anyways. But as a kid, you do, And I think even as a kid, you subconsciously do, especially from day one, if you're already getting beat. It's like a programming, like, from day one. And from day one, I was like, I'd be a newborn, and this was a huge trigger for me that I had to heal, whining and crying, and I couldn't do it. Like, I love my kid to death, but when he was younger, he's 13 now, but when he was younger, like, I had to explain to him, like, if the dog would whine, or he would cry, I'd be like, okay, like, he was like 6 and he still like understood, like, and fucking kid's amazing. But I'd be like, yo, like, I cannot deal with crying. I cannot deal with, whining. Not good at it. It stems from my dad, because he was such an angry person. And it's just like irritating. It's irritable. So if something would happen to him, I'd be able to stand a certain amount, and then I'd be like, honey, I need to go. And he'd be like, like, okay, like, I already consoled him. I already did that. I already did this, whatever. So he understood. Then, I realized it was from, like, being a newborn, where if I was getting my diaper changed for my dad and I started crying and there was, like, no reason in his eyes why I should be, he decided, if you're going to cry, I'm going to give you a reason to cry, as like a newborn. So he would actually end up pinching me, and I'd have bruises all over me. So I would be getting hurt. So I'd have, pain inflicted onto me. So it was like, okay, now you have a reason to cry. So I accept it. Even though when you grow up, you cry about something that hurts your feelings. And then it's like, no, you're just over exaggerating. You're being silly. What, you'll be okay. It's like, ooh, our emotions and our validation get, I just had it in my head, get denied. They get shut down. They get to a point where, like, you're taught, like, you're not allowed to have emotions, pretty much, because everything you're emotional about and you try to open up about as a kid, you're shut down. Like, no, it's nothing. Okay, it's nothing then. And that's why a lot of people don't know how to be vulnerable, because it's like, as a kid, it was nothing. Your emotions don't mean shit. So, oh my God, your tail's so fucking fat. So it's like, and then he decided to suffocate me, to start not even, hearing the crying, but just giving me a reason to cry. Anyways, so my cousin, whatever. So I'm doing the betrayal thing and the scapegoat, and I thought about immediately, like, how my grandmother, I was always blamed for everything. Yeah, Lily, they can see you in there looking up at me. And then I was like, bam. And I was like, fuck. Haven't even looked at that healing yet. I was like, no, I don't want to. Like, there's a reason why I've not brought it up. I didn't bring it up for 15 years. I pretty much, since 6 years old, 7 years old, like, deleted it ever happening in my head. I knew it was there. I knew it happened. But I never looked at it. I never No. So pretty much when I was younger, my cousin, would did you know that yawning is a form of anxiety? Especially if you can't catch your breath, it helps you be able to catch your breath. Just saying. So a lot lately, like I don't know, I was just talking about it now though. Or the fact that my sleeping has been so fucked up. It's like I want to wake up. Like I wake up and it's like only 12 o'clock and I'm like, why can't it be like 5 already? And I just go back to sleep. And then yesterday I was up at like 1:30 and I was like, yay, like let's start the day. I just stayed up all day and was in a good mood. And then today I've been up since like, I don't know, I think I did better. It's 3 o'clock. It was 3 o'clock because then I thought of the whole stupid, like, oh my God, it's the devil's time. Like, no. Okay. So, my cousin did shit to me and I had another kid do shit to me and like growing up as a teenager and, before I had my kid, even after I had my kid and I wasn't with his father because we'd break up for, whatever. You didn't want to do shit with people, but for me, I only did shit with people because I wanted them to leave me alone. Like I didn't want to. It just kind of was like, okay, like if I do it, will you just leave me the fuck alone? And it was like, yeah, until next time. But, and I drank and partied a lot, so it wasn't always, not wanting to. It would be me just being stupid and or wanting to. But when you have people that you don't want to do it with and they just keep pursuing and pursuing, it's kind of like when you've had sexual trauma, when you've had that, not being able to say no, being an empath and wanting to fix your parents or have that fulfilling prophecy of, oh, you get a boyfriend and you don't even realize it's your dad and it's because you're attracting it because that's a programming that you have in your subconscious of wanting to have that self-fulfilling prophecy where you fix your dad, so you fix your boyfriend that's like your dad. Anyways, aside from that, when you are, touched or molested and sexually abused in any type of way, I wasn't legit raped, so that's the only reason why I didn't add that, but raped as well. You feel held against your will. Did I say that right? You feel held. Yeah, I think so. You feel like you have no control. You feel like, either you just have to do it, or you have no choice in it, or, and it's weird because like my mom used to be like, yeah, like your dad would rape me all the time. And I'm like, but you guys are married. Like, and it's more like, she really wouldn't want to do it and he'd be just do it anyways. And it's like, that is still like a form of rape, like regardless, like if you're together or not, like if you don't want to do it and you're literally pushed into doing it, it doesn't matter if you're married or, whatever, like you don't want to do it. Like you're still being forced to do something you don't want to do sexually. So I was like, all right. I was like, all right, here we go. Something I've not healed. Sexual trauma. Let's do this. And I've learned in the past, I actually never even finished that program that I actually have. And I never did the other 2 programs that I did after that, which I still can. I just didn't. I learned that if you can, like, picture your womb. I don't know why, but I picture my womb as like a coconut. I don't know why. And I'm like scraping the inside of like the white, like, you have the milk and like, and you scrape it or whatever. So when I'm cleaning out my womb from sexual trauma, my sacral chakra, your sacral chakra is all about relationships, emotions, stuff like that. So your sacral chakra will be either overworked or underworked, and it's not balanced, and you're not balanced, like, with your emotions. You're emotionally unstable. Your relationships can be fucked up, but it is also about your reproductive system. It's about sex. It's about intimacy. You know what I mean? So if you have those weird emotions about intimacy and sex because you've been traumatized or molested, touched, raped, anything like that, it actually fucks up your chakra. And you go through life not knowing this, and it just gets worse and worse and worse. And then you have your root chakra underneath your sacral, which is about security, safety within yourself, like within having your shelter, food, like those kind, like your safety, your survival. Like, so it's like, if you don't even have that, how is your sacral going to be good? If your sacral is not good, how is your solar plexus going to be good? Which is about your confidence, like your personal confidence, who you are, your self-esteem. And if you don't have any of that love for yourself, it's like, then your heart chakra is going to be all messed up, and you're not going to be able to open up because your sacral chakra is messed up, because your root chakra messed up. And then it's like you have your throat chakra. How are you going to speak your mind? How are you going to speak your feelings? How are you going to be comfortable enough to do that? And then you have your pineal gland, which is like your intuition. It's like, it's going to be all fogged. You're going to have to decalcify it, especially if you have a lot of fluoride. Like, look that up. Which comes to your crown, which all these have to be aligned in order to, like, it doesn't have to be like in order to, like, go to source, the universe, God. Like, no, it doesn't mean that. But your crown chakra is where it's like, I always picture it like goes into heaven or whatever. But it's like a purple stream, and that's the color for it. You can always look up the violet flame as well. If you're, it's like a prayer, but like in a spiritual, like, tarot card, medium channeling, Reiki, healing type of thing, not like a religion prayer or hymns or, something like that. I used to go to a church, and the hymns would literally be like, play that funky music, white boy. It was amazing because it uplifts you. It's not like, whatever. I'm not judging. It's just not for me. And it just is what it is. And that is what it is. Like, there's no polarity, there's no duality, nothing is good, nothing is bad, it just is. And I say that in every video because I want to really emphasize that. And it's all perception, it's all how you look at it. It could be good for somebody else, and just because you wouldn't do it that way, you judge it, and it's wrong. But you don't know why somebody has to do what they're doing. Like, abortion, it's a huge fucking controversy, but it's like, if you don't understand why somebody has to do it, you judge them. Like, how about if it's like, you don't know their story, but like, if they don't do it, like, they're gonna die. It's like they have no choice, and then somebody finds out that you had an abortion but don't know that part of it, and they're like, so like pro-life, and they're like, oh my God, like, that girl. It's like, then they become a slut, then they become this and that, but then it could be so many different things. But it's like, you don't know the story. Like, you don't know, so shut the fuck up. Sorry, but seriously, you don't know people's stories, so don't judge before you know. And even if you know, don't judge anyways. You didn't fucking go through it. You don't know the emotions they went through, and you don't know the emotions that they could have went through that they numbed. Like, you don't know, man. Like, and people are like, oh, I went through that too, I understand how you feel. Yeah, you understand how that person feels to an extent, because you two are two different people, and you're gonna have two different reactions completely, because you've had past trauma also that is built up to the trigger for this thing that you went through too, so you understand how they're feeling. It's like, no, you didn't go through what they went through in the past to make them come to that trigger. You went through what you went through up until there. I'm getting off subject. Sorry. Sexual trauma. So I'll picture, like, crap being taken out of my womb, like the reproductive system. So if, like, you can't have a baby, or you're told you can't have a baby, or your ovaries, or you have miscarriages, or it's hard to get pregnant, like you have malfunctions when you do get pregnant, or, like, that's all your sacral chakra. That's not medical, unless, like, you're gonna die if you have the baby. Like, it's literally like energy in your sacral chakra that is blocking you from being able to move forward in that sexual trauma way, because it still needs to be healed. There's blockages of being able to have a healthy, balanced chakra. The way that I learned how to sexual trauma is not easy to overcome, especially depending on what you went through, how you felt, your triggers, all that. You have PTSD or CPTSD, and it's like one little thing, a smell, a furniture like that looks like, you know what I mean, like that immediately can make you go into that same exact feeling, that same exact flashback, that same exact, you know. So it's like when you're healing your sexual trauma or your sacral chakra, it's really important to try to be in your body, not logically try to overcome your trauma. It's more like you have to embody your trauma and really feel your body, feel within your body, because that's what it is. It's sexual trauma. Like, it has to do with your body more. And if you're doing sexual, like, you know what I mean? So where I'm going with this is, so I had that sexual trauma. And I also had the no validation, no justice, no reassurance that I was safe from it, like nothing. As a kid, and when I came out about it, because my grandmother was so obsessed with my devil cousin, which again is judging because I look at him as a devil, which everybody else does that knows of him, but whatever. So, whatever. Like, he did the most horrible shit, and I always got in trouble. And I wasn't even safe, because like if my grandmother didn't want to listen to him whine, she would just be like, "Oh, Bethany, go do it." And I'd be like, "But he beats the shit out of me. Like, I don't want to go do," you know what I mean? Or he throws balloons at me that's full of piss. Like, he scares the shit out of me with the things that he knows I'm scared of. Like, it's just like, he makes me throw rocks at cars, and, you know, then I get yelled at. Like, I get blamed. And it's like, I was not safe whatsoever. Like, I was forced, once again, to go do something I didn't want to do. But when, okay, this is like a lot of, I learned too, like indecision, right? Some of us have a lot of indecision because we don't know which way to go with, you know, doing this or doing that. We get really scared, and we're like, okay, well, I don't want to get hurt. So if I do this, this could happen. If I do this, this could happen. Or you just don't know which one to go to. And it's like, in my situation, I realized that through this, that, you know, indecision comes from the fact that, like, I have my own intuition and I know what's best for me. But everybody in my life as a child, which is our programming, unless, you know, your conditions and all that, they get fixed, healed. It's like, what is this saying? That beep just fucking, oh yeah. So it's like my intuition, my higher self, my soul knows what's best for me. But because everybody's made my own decisions for me, which have always hurt me, have always put me in danger, have always are not the right decisions for me, that's why it's like a push and pull. You're like, you know it's best for you, but you're attracted to the chaos because that's what you were always forced to have to go through, not even knowing it. You know, isn't that fucked up? So this is trauma explaining how I came to these realizations. So, sexual fantasies, right? You know, people have threesomes, they have orgies, they have, like, you know, like BDSM, like they have like those, not fetishes, like fantasies, you know. And, you know, you have people you want to fulfill your fantasies with, and, you know, whatever. So you can be dating somebody, you could be sexting, like whatever your situation is, and then all of a sudden the person's like, "Oh, well, you know, what's your fantasy? Like, what do you fantasize about, like, sexually?" And I always knew what it was, but I didn't tell anybody. And then I met somebody, just a friend, and he was asking me that, and I was like, I don't want to tell you. Like, I don't know you that well enough to, like, but I did feel comfortable being able to tell him, but I didn't until I think like way later down the road. But I think it was actually like after I realized this. I don't know. I might have not. No, I did tell him, but I was just like, I don't think you can deal with it regardless, and I don't think you're a person that could do it, so it doesn't really matter. So he's the only person that I told besides my boyfriend. He was my boyfriend, but then we went through a lot of shit and we like broke up, kind of. who the fuck knows. And it's a twin flame thing, so it's on and off all the time. Not really anymore, but getting there. But he's the only person that I actually have ever felt comfortable and safe being able to do it with, you know? And he's a big reason why he's the person, and why it's gotten activated to where I understand, your twin flame, man. If you're not on a twin flame journey, like, go fucking find yourself a twin flame. They won't even be a twin flame, and you're just like, no, we're gonna do this. It's like, no, but okay. Anyways, you have no idea, having a twin flame, how much I've healed from him triggering the fuck out of me. And he's a perfect person to do it, because the way he is, I don't know how he does it, but he's good at it. And he doesn't do anything. That's the point. He does nothing. He just ignores me. Well, was ignoring me. Like, and I just rose from it. I was like, you know what? Fuck you. But I was also, like, dealt to have to sit in my feelings, and it wasn't fun. Anyways, my sexual fantasy, and don't get mad at me when I say this, because there's trauma behind it. And I've been sexually abused. It's not, something that I want to go through as in, a certain type of way. But my sexual fantasy is to get raped. Okay? Again, not like raped, like, you know what I mean? Like, not like to where it's like traumatizing to, like, but like raped as in, so I'm telling my mom this, and she did like psychology, and my therapist, and I told them both this, and it was very hard for me to, like, say. I actually had to write it down to tell my mom, like, literally write it down, like, my sexual fantasy is to get raped. And she reads it, and she's like, I'm like, it's fucked up. She's like, oh no, it is, it's fucked up. She's like, but I don't think you're the only one that has that type of reaction, trauma response to, whatever. Because when I figured out why I have this fantasy, it made sense. And when I told her and my therapist how I figured it out and how it really was and why it was, it made more sense to them. And they were like, yeah, I don't think you're the only person. It might not be rape, but, So what it comes down to is, so when you're getting raped, right, or sexually molested, any sexual kind of thing, and you're being forced, you're being controlled. Like, you have no control over your life, yourself, your body, what the person's doing to you, what you can do. Like, you're trapped, like, or at least you feel that way. You know what I mean? Like, you feel like you have no other choice. If you're a person that's a people pleaser and you don't want to have sex with somebody, and you're just kind of like, whatever, just hurry up and do it, like, let's get this over and done with and leave me alone. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if I do this, just leave me the fuck alone, okay? Just leave me alone. So, but then if you're like a certain type of way, they just keep bothering you, and it's like, okay, I guess I have to be bad at it when I'm doing it, because you won't leave me the fuck alone. Anyways, so you have that you're not in control kind of feeling, right? So if your sexual fantasy is to get raped, it's you allowing somebody to rape you. That's why you have to do it. You don't do this with a stranger, you know what I mean? Like, you do it with somebody, if you have that kind of trigger, if you have that kind of reasoning, if you have that kind of, I was never able to make this decision on my own. I was never able to say no, and I was never able to do this. But it's like, if I allow you to do it to me, I'm in control. I'm allowing you to, I'm saying yes to it. I'm not being forced to be able to have to say no, because I'm in control. I'm allowing you to do it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, when you have sexual trauma where you have no control in it, a fantasy like that can happen, where you allow a person to have the control over you. Like, you're giving them permission to have the control over you. And I am a person that likes to be controlled during sex. I am. So I like the BDSM thing. I like the roughness. Like, I like all that. I never had made love with anybody until my boyfriend. Like, and that was when we first met. And like, literally, like, I actually asked. So weird. But beneficial, apparently. And if you can learn tantric and have a partner that you can heal sexually with, I'd really look into that, because tantric sex is with a partner that you can really do it with, and they're patient with you and gentle and kind, and you both give each other that sexual energy healing. It's very essential, and it's very helpful, and it's very important if you can have that, especially when you've never felt loved and you have that connection as well, which I do. Yeah, I've never done it yet because things are still like just moving along in the right direction, but I know I can, and that's the only reason why I also know that I could ask him to do this with me. But then you have the people also that won't, which also is healing, because it's like you're giving them permission, but they don't even want to. So it's like you don't even, regardless if that the point is that wouldn't even come up where you had to say no, where you felt like they were going to try to control you. So the reason why it's so, besides trusting my boyfriend and all that stuff, 31 when I said that, I'm going to have to look that up. Before, he's big. Like, he's bigger than me. You know what I mean? It's like my only boyfriend. Like, I've had taller boyfriends than me, but like they weren't big. Like, they didn't have muscles. They weren't muscular. They didn't feel like a man. Like, they weren't a man. Like, they didn't have that masculinity to them where you felt, I don't know, a certain type of way. And I never had that before. So when I met him, it was like I went through so much trauma with so many other relationships that I was in that whole, you're not going to control me, like that defiant, like rebel kind of thing. And he wasn't even trying to. Like, in the beginning, then afterwards he was, but it's just because of his own fear, and he was able to always control everything and he couldn't control me, and so it was just like a problem. But yeah. I got into the whole, like, you're not controlling me, like, you're not telling me what to do, blah, 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 blah. And then it turned into a problem because he's used to doing that to, and he has to have control over his life, so he knows what the next thing is that's going to happen. I mean, and that's how a lot of narcissists are also created. So, he had narcissistic, like, qualities to him that came out, and whatever. So, what happened is that I was very defiant. I was like, nope, not happening. Sorry, like, no. And I didn't even have to be like that with him. But again, twin flame, you learn, you heal, whatever. But because he needed that control, he needed it. I wouldn't give it to him. I was like, nope, not getting it. I learned, a lot from it. But because I was aware that he was very controlling, it wasn't like, and I don't really think he was literally doing it out of hurting me. It was his own fear, but it can hurt you, But narcissists are, again, they're can be created that way because they had to control their life in order to get what they needed as a kid because they were being neglected. So they had to be sneaky about, getting their needs met, and that's, what they grew up to be. And then depending on the environment that they grew up in and everything depends on, how much they hate themselves, how much they degrade other people. And there's a whole big thing. But at the end of the day, that's a way that they can be groomed into a narcissistic person, in doing the manipulating thing, because they had to growing up. And I feel for that, you know what I mean? But it's like, anyways, so I was always against him being able to have that control, unless we were like having sex, you know what I mean? So that's another thing. And I allowed that, but it wasn't in a literally like trying to fight him, get away, but him allowing him to do it. You know what I mean? It wouldn't obviously be like a really intense, like, you know, beating the shit, like, not like that, but just me trying to get away and him not letting me, but me giving him that permission to not let me. Like, I'm in control of you doing that to me, because I never had control over it before. Do you get what I mean? So it's like, it's actually a healing, fucked up, sexual trauma fantasy. Like, it's actually for healing. Because if they don't want to do it, then you know it's healing because they love you enough to be like, I can't do that to you. You know what I mean? But then you have the ones where it's like, they even can be controlling and it pisses you off and you're defined or whatever. And you're like, okay, I'm going to give you permission. Like, do this. Take advantage of me. Don't let me have any control over myself. Like, don't let me at all, you know. And obviously, like I said, you do this with somebody that you trust, not somebody that you don't know that is gonna take advantage of you, you know. And you can have a safe word or whatever if it really gets too intense. But I just wanted to share that because it's like, see how it all like meshes together. So like, if you've always felt controlled, look in your life and see if there's things that you allow, even subconsciously or even like consciously, like knowing like, okay, this person's trying to do this, and like you don't even have to like say like, okay, I'm gonna allow you to do this, because it could get worse. But like in your head you could be like, all right, I'm gonna allow them to do this. I know what they're doing. They don't know I know that they're doing it, but I'll let them do it. You know what I mean? And it's like, you have that within yourself, like, yeah, you're controlling me. Yeah, okay, I'll do what you say. But you're like, yeah, okay, like, buddy, I know what you're doing, you know. But I thought that was really interesting when I figured all that out. I was like, fuck, man, like, you really want to let somebody rape you because you never had that control sexually in your life, because you didn't want to do it with a lot of people, and they just kept pushing and pushing and pushing, so you just did it, you know. Or you had no choice, or you had family members or whoever do it to you, and you would tell somebody and still didn't matter, or you felt like you couldn't tell somebody because it didn't matter and you didn't have anybody. And see how that all grows. And then you think about it, like, you let people subconsciously take advantage of you and control you when you grow up, because subconsciously that's what people have done to you your entire life. So it's like, you either can become that person that's super controlling and you need to know the next step, and so you control your person and groom them into being able to do that to them, not even technically to be an asshole or a narcissist, but just because of your own fear of your own life being out of control. So you feel like you have to control everybody and everything, so you know your next step. It's like the indecision, like a lily. It's like the indecision of the same thing, like people making your life choices for you, and it just made your life worse and out of control, and you felt out of control, like you felt like you had no control over your life at all. So if you can see things that you do or you think or something like that, like, think about it. Like, do you do stuff, certain things, because you felt like you didn't have any say? So even subconsciously you might let people take advantage of you. Just think about it. Like, look at your patterns, look at your cycles, look at how you were in relationships, but find the triggers first. You know what I mean? Like, I had to figure out, like, oh, it's about control, it's about manipulation, it's about this, it's about being held against my will, it's about having no other choice. You know, and people that really have severe rape situations, or however, I mean, I'm not going to say severe is this and, you know, regular rape is it, like, no, like, and it also depends on how effective and how it affected, you know, you or whoever with it happening. Like, no other person can say, like, oh, that's nothing compared to blah, blah, blah. Like, no, you validate that person of what they went through and how they felt, and you don't try to like be in competition with them. Like, what the fuck? Anyways, so I don't know where I was going with that, but I mean, I do, but then I got sidetracked. But the reason why I would want him to do it is because he's so much stronger, he's so much bigger, and I fought him so hard on being like, you're not controlling me. Like, fuck you, no, I'm not letting you do it. I've already let this person do it, this person is doing it, and I had no control over letting them. Or at least you think you don't, but you don't. But I'm not, never mind. But yeah, so I would let him do it, but no. No. But anyway, so I just wanted to share that because that was like interesting to me, and then it helped me be able to embody being present in my body. Like, it wasn't it, and that's another thing, like, I was in control of my body. I was able to be present in my body. So it's like, when you're doing it, you have to be mindful in the moment of your body. You know, it's not a logic thing where you're trying to convince yourself or do therapy work. Like, you're literally working with your body to heal your body of sexual trauma with your body. Like, your body was used for somebody else's pleasure while you were being traumatized. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah. But so look at your shit. Because if you can do that, it's easier to deal with. It's easier to heal. It's easier to understand. It's easier not to judge yourself if you understand yourself. And that's hard to do because in order to understand yourself, you have to connect with yourself. And in order to connect with yourself, you have to understand yourself and your feelings and why you feel a certain type of way, why you suppress this. You got to take everything up that you've suppressed and all the emotions behind, you know, something, anything, but like, if you're talking about this, like, you'd have to bring up the emotions that you numbed in order to feel them out, in order to heal, which crying is literally the best medicine. You know, they're always like, laughter. It's like, no, crying is, because it releases that. You can't laugh at your trauma and, you know, that's your medicine that'll make you feel better. Like, no, unless it's numbed. I know that. But yeah, I think that's all I'm gonna say. It's fucked up. But he's the only one I would do it with. And there's reasons behind it. I also trust him. I also trust that if I said no, or if I wanted him to stop, I know he would. And that's another thing. That's even like with the BDSM thing. You have to completely trust that person to have the control over you and know that they love you enough that they want the best for you. They don't want you to be hurt, but you have that sexual whatever, but it's like, you need to trust in them and give them the control over you, knowing that as soon as you say stop, they will stop. They won't just keep going, or if they're about to fucking like come or, you know, have an orgasm or whatever, like, they will still stop. Like, that's like an actual BDSM relationship, how you live a lifestyle. It's not, you know, just doing BDSM shit. It's an actual lifestyle. Like, that's how, I have a video on that too. But it's like, I think that's actually one of a very loving, very, very loving, connecting relationship to be in. Because you completely have to trust them and give yourself over to them. It's literally like letting yourself just fall into a crowd of people that you don't know, that they'll catch you and give a fuck. You know, I mean, there's obviously more to it, but that's what I'm trying to say. Like, I can be like that with him. And there's other, you know, he's, you know, actually the only person that was like, that I met, because I've always kind of like just done it the first time I met somebody. Plus, if you like them, you know, for me, it used to be sex is love, but it also used to be if I don't like having sex with you, I'm not going to want to be with you regardless. So I should probably have sex with you before I start liking you. Like, because if I don't like having sex with you, I can't love you. No. So I have to find out now. You know what I mean? Like, that's how it used to be. But he's the only one. Like, at that time when I met him, I wanted to not be that way. Like, I wanted to actually meet somebody the right way. You know what I mean? Like, there's no right way. Like, I could have gotten married to him that day, and I could still be happily married and live my life with him till my next lifetime that I live with him, because he's my twin flame, so he's always with me, and he's me, so, you know, whatever. But it's like, I don't remember what I was saying, because then I got lost thinking about it. But no, like, I really did forget what I was saying. I don't know. Yeah, so I was trying to be that way when I met him, and I just, you know, gotten out of some weird thing, and I was still healing, so I wasn't really ready for him when he came in, especially the way he did, and, you know, whatever. But, like, it was, like, about to happen. I'm like, just stop. I was like, stop, please stop. Like, I was like, kid, just stop. Like, I don't want to do this. I want to be good. Like, I want to do it the right way if I'm going to meet somebody. And he stopped. The only person that has ever stopped or did not force me or wasn't like, no, you know, let's do it. Like, no. And, like, we were, like, doing shit. Like, he wasn't touching me in any sexual way, but, like, we were kissing, and he had me shoved up against a shed and, you know, holding me, and then, like, he, like, went to go whatever, and I'm like, no, don't. I was like, you have no idea how much I want to, but just don't. Next day, I did it. It was hard. It was hard, you know, those 12 hours, but the point is that he still stopped. Only person that has ever stopped. So I know I can trust him. Okay. Well, that's all I'm going to say. So just look at your shit. See if you can try to figure that out. Be a coconut. Scrape it. I also can look at it like that because my mom had MRSA and almost died, and they scraped the inside of her. Like, they took out her lung and scraped the crap out of her to get the MRSA out. So, like, I don't know why I do it like that, but I also, like, it's my stomach and it's a coconut. It's not my rib cage and taking out a fucking thing and then having to scrape it out. Like, no. Also, remember that trauma that comes from another partner, if you let them go inside of you or whatever and you have that connection, like, there's a piece that they're going to take with you and you're going to take with them. So it's like, if they also have sexual trauma, you're going to get their sexual trauma and put into your DNA and whatever. So you need to do healing no matter what, because you need to get somebody else's shit out of you, especially if they're not your sacred union person. And I'm not saying there's only one person. There can be numerous soulmates, but if you are a twin flame or a twin soul or a twin fire, like, whatever it is, that's your only person, because it's you. Unless you're not a split soul twin flame and you're a soulmate type twin flame, because then you're two different consciousness as one. With a split, you're the same consciousness. You share the same soul, but it's split into two different people. So yeah, but yeah, okay. Good morning, good start. But it was so weird. Like, I was changing my clothes, I was changing the temperature. I was like, okay, like, I don't want to wear. Like, I had, like, no earrings on, and then I'm looking at myself. I'm like, nope, I need earrings. Like, it was too weird because I usually always have earrings on too, no matter what. Unless I'm, like, sleeping or I'm at home or, you know, whatever. But if I go out or I do a video or I do this or I do that, I normally always have earrings on. It just, like, you feel naked if you don't. But yeah, so interesting when I found that out. It was fucked up and it was upsetting because I was like, wow, like, your fantasy is to get taken advantage of because you want to allow somebody to do it because you never had the choice. They just did. Like you were a used fucking toy or and then thrown away, you know? And that would actually be a huge healing. Either for somebody to be like, I can't do that to you, like I love you too much, I couldn't do that. Or you have somebody that can do it and you're allowing them to do it, especially when they have tried to control you and then they give up the control to you for them to control you. That's even more healing. It's kind of sexy too. I'm done. I am not getting turned on over this because it's fucked. Just whatever. But it's not about actual rape. I just want to, yeah. All right. You guys have a good day. Hope this did not trigger anybody, but if it did, I hope that it was in a way where you can understand yourself. Okay. Have a good day, guys. I don't even know what time it is. 6:11. Ha, perfect. 4 minutes. I have to go wake up my kid. Okay. Bye, guys. Mwah.